Hello, what's going on, everybody? Watch list time. Hope you guys all had a great Labor Day weekend. Although we spell it differently up in the Great White North, it's technically called the same thing. On the note of Labor Day, there was a discount code, so to speak, put out with Investors Underground. It's a pretty good deal. That's where I trade every day. So if you guys are interested or looking for a community, then feel free to check it out. It's the first link down in the description. So with that being said, we'll go into scan and watch list for the day ahead. Two trades today that were both trades that you guys had known about. Navini got stopped out of this one. Finally broke. It looked like it was going to push higher here. You can see this little perk in volume down there, that tiny little candle. It looked like it wanted to go, and it just couldn't get any higher, and ended up stopping me out there today. And then Jobby caught a really nice unwind on this one. If you guys recall from the past week or so of scans, I was building into a position. On Friday, the plan on that Thursday's watch list was a ads under that 1410s area. And it doesn't even show it there. There we go. So we get this pullback right into it, and then we get the opening range lows lining up with that multi-day support level in the mid 14s. Intraday lining up with the daily, and then you get the fail and retest. So I was adding right through here into that bigger picture swing, added right here, and moved risk to the high a day. It got fairly close, a bit uncomfortable after being up about 60 cents a share towards the lows, and then for it to come all the way back and be barely up anything was a bit tough, but respected the plan, risking versus 1450s, and got a filing, some sort of dilution type filing. It said Toyota got some shares or something. It was priced at like $5. I didn't see it until later when I was scanning over the weekend, but it definitely got hit pretty hard. And then with SPY's gap down and fade heaviness all of pre, I felt like this one would have some more weakness, so I didn't cover any early pre-market. Was just going to wait for SPY to really start to unwind. And when something is just this straight down, this easy, a lot of times these gap downs get bought up, especially in this current market environment. So I was proactively covering here into pre-market, into the sped up action. Some of it just after 8 a.m. when we got that hard crack. Locking in. And this is right into that looking left level here, hence those covers. And then once we start to speed up there to the downside towards that 13 whole $0.50 mark, had to lock in. Goal was like 1280s, like a sub 13 flush to start covering like a third to a quarter. But, 13's close enough with a gap down. 1270s was SSR. But when news and everything starts coming into play. Not out of this position, just covered a piece. I was currently still swinging it, but I was fairly sized on this one. I was risking about 4 to 5 R by the time I sized into those 1410s, risking 1450s. I was risking 4.5, 5 R off a high a day. So good little trade. Down here locked in about 3 to 1. So basically a risk-free trade if it were to come all the way back at this point. But those are the only two trades. We're just closing out of some swings, nothing new. There was that S ticker. What was it? I saw it as like a T+1 on scan, but is it SOGP? Is that it? Yeah. This one here was like a T+1 candidate. If you look here, we've got that big one-day volume, and then next day holds above all key levels. That's what I like to see. So I was looking at it for a T+1, but right off the open, just straight up, straight up, straight up, straight up. And then any of these dips just didn't feel like the risk reward really made any sense. Sure, in hindsight, maybe buying 14, risking 11, you're risking $3 a share, and up at 23. That's a 3-to-1 trade. So in hindsight, it worked. But typically when I'm bouncing these, I'm using that prior resistance as a goalpost. And if I'm buying at 14, risking 11 and looking for 16, the risk reward just doesn't make sense. Similar to BSLK. Like when you trade that little bounce trade, you're using that day one's resistance as a guide for profit targets. Oops. There we go. So I just didn't really have a process for entering. No consolidation, no opening range break, no key daily level. So I just let that one be. But that was really the only quote-unquote miss, but I don't really feel bad about missing it. I didn't come to Traders for a Cause in Toronto. No, I did not. The flight is just, I think I'm like 6.5, 7 hours from one coast to the other. And just for like a 3-hour event, it just doesn't make sense. When we did I flew to that one in Arizona a few months ago. That was in the springtime, I believe. And that one, we like a few of the guys I knew were gonna be like Greg and Cody and Zach, and there was a bunch of us. And I had kind of planned planned like an event like for weeks. So we were doing go-karting and skeet shooting and what else? We filmed a podcast. I don't know, but it was like a week's worth of events or festivities. Or when it's only 3 hours, I just can't justify a flight for that long. Sit on a plane for 7 hours. I'm going to be on a plane for 7 hours there, 7 hours back to see you guys for 3 hours. But I will be at the one in Miami. I've already booked the flight for that one. That one's in January or February or something next year. But I'm definitely going to that one. That's the main one. They moved it from Vegas to Miami this year. So I will be at that one. So if you guys want to come and say what's up, I will be there. Oh, I mistyped. That's why it didn't show up. Okay. So back to the watch list. Q's bounced right off the 50-day today. Vinny stopped out. Open, I really like this one going into tomorrow. Bunch of guys trying to short this thing, and you didn't have any blow off. You had a couple days that kind of pushed through and failed the breakout, but it wouldn't go any lower. And that $4 level, if you recall from this front side move, might be clearer if I go with like a 5-minute or something. There was some consolidation and some prior lows and prior tops at that $4. There we go. So it blew out through it. You can see this $4 here. Pulled back, topped, held as a base, hard crack, lower highs right off of 4. Next day, 1, 2, 3 tops right off of 4. So this 4 level was like a congestion on that front side. And what do? We push up into it right here a few weeks ago, and then it breaks and then comes back and holds it. And I was waiting for this to break over 5 so that I had a because so far we just had a failed breakout and lower high, lower low, lower high, lower low, lower high, higher low, but no higher high yet until today when it broke through 5. So I'll be interested in this one, bigger picture, and look to join verse $4 now that we finally have some constructive action. Thar, I believe this one had an offering. Let me check. Didn't they have some news? I thought so. Let me look. An S3 and then a 424. Yeah. An S3 after hours on the 26th and a 424 B5 on the 27th. 200,000 commons priced at 450. 980K warrants priced at 00 penny. So it's not a ton, but pre-funded warrants, common stock, the 26th and 27th. Yeah, right there. So that was that pull. I thought they had an offering, yeah. So the S3 came out on the, was it the 26th? That's the 26th. Now I got myself all confused. What days did I say? 26th was the S3. 27th was the 424. But I believe 26th was the S3. 27th was the 424. So there was an offering right in here in this pullback, which was the reason why I wasn't trying to play a bounce trade on it. But anyways, we've got this higher low trend. This is what hit my scam, and it's tested 1, 2, 3, 4, now 5 times. And if this starts to take out $5, basically this prior low, then we had a higher high, higher low, higher high, higher low, lower high, and then wait for that lower low. That starts to break 5. That's right where the 10 SMA is. And then you've got some room lower. You know, volume profile is showing way down here, but towards like 5 to 4 is probably reasonable pocket, maybe aggressively down to 3. But I think that failed follow through could work. OPAD, this one was trading a bit cleaner over here than Open was, but they also did an offering right here. So now I kind of prefer Open over OPAD. Very not going to lose this one off radar. This is pretty much exactly what I wanted. If you recall from the watch list on the 26th here, where it was flagging and I said I like it when they push up and then consolidate inside days for a few days. So now if this can break 320s, that would be a nice trigger now that it's tightened up. RLMD starting to extend. BTAI, this is the exact same setup as Jobby, where you get this hard crack, this higher low failed follow through. I had shorted on that day. And then we get this tightening flagging action, and if 380s fails, if this breaks power bar lows, it's basically the exact same thing here, where you get this higher low trend fail, failed follow through, bunch of inside days, and once it loses 14, it gets smacked. So would look for the same thing here on BTAI. Now they've had this failed follow through. Sideways, if this loses 380, should get hit. IVVD, this through 1.1 looks like a possible trigger. Doesn't really have a whole lot of range, but I think that 1.1 would probably be worth a trigger versus low a day, and just see if it starts to expand. Like, it has had range and spikeability in the past, but just a matter of if it can happen. I imagine the share structure is probably a little bit different. 200 million now. Yeah. They've got warrants. They've got a big old ATM. Ton of room on their shelf. So it's dilutive. And they've got 200 million outstanding. So definitely need some volume if it wanted to get going, but just worth a look. Not an A+ setup, but maybe worth putting a few shekels on. Same kind of thing with PTNM. Multi-day mover. Holding up. 220s would be that trigger for that bigger pick. 240s breakout. But main watches are definitely like where my size would go would be open and BTAI. BTAI you can't size a ton because it's only trading a few million, but like I'm fine trading like up to 10% of the volume. So at 3 million, I'm not going to be taking 300,000 shares anyways. So, but BTAI and open will be my mains. Jobby ideally can get another flush, get into the 12s. Look to cover some more of that. Jeff, Golan, Lockdock. But anyways, that's all I really got. Couple main watches. Jobby will continue to be a main watch until I cover that position. Open, main watch. BTI, main watch. And then IVVD and PTNM, back burner ideas. Thar, failed fall through, back burner idea. But that's what I got. So the recording will be up for you guys that just hopped on. But yeah, hope you guys have a great rest of your week. And check out that discount for IU. And you can trade with me live every day over there. So take it easy, guys. Peace.